Hey, what's up, guys? Happy Friday. We made it. We made it another week. We made it another week. I hope you spent some time with God. I hope you prayed. And you just sat down and just really thought about life. You know, I have to sit still and just take it all in every time I wake up, because I know how much of a blessing it is to just wake up and have your health. And I mean, things hurt here and there, but that's because I'm getting old. My back was killing me today, and I was like, man, it's I'm coming to that age where I'm gonna have to age with fitness and not let fitness age me. I always say that. There's gonna have to be some changes, like the heavy lifting, the heavy deadlifting, all that stuff that, I mean, obviously I'm not a kid no more, so I have to evolve and, take care of myself, because as older as I get, I can't heal as faster. So it doesn't mean that I'm not gonna be, still doing the same moves or power lifting or stuff like that. It's not gonna be as heavy no more. It's not gonna be, it comes a point where you have to start to look at it as longevity instead of just immediate gratification. And I think that's just one of the biggest things as humans, I guess, we fall into in anything, whether it's money, drugs, wins. There's a lot of factors that could go into it. You learn to enjoy it. I told somebody yesterday, I learned to live life once, I found my purpose, my walk, who I had to be with, with Jesus in my life, not who I thought the world wanted me to be. And I can't stress that enough, because when I learned to live life, a lot of things went away that I didn't even have to try to make them go away, and there was a lot of anger that was just embottled in me. I can't even explain it, from years and years of just, I guess, resentment carrying around, years of just hate, being scared, so many bad feelings, because none of that is of God. And for that to slowly start getting removed and taken away, and the way that I started to feel and everything, I started to learn to live life. And I guess you could say, just like the gym and everything else, the more disciplined I became and the better I got at it, the better it felt, the better it was. I mean, just everything, the better I became. And I sit here and I think about so many things now, because my mind is clear and I'm at peace. When you're at peace, you're able to remember your memories, your childhood memories, even the bad stuff. I sit here now and I think about it, and I'm like, wow, my childhood was bad, but it could have been worse. It could have been way worse. The decisions that I made on the streets, to be involved with gangs and stuff like that, was a high that I chose to chase as, a teenage kid, because I had plenty of opportunities to turn it around. I mean, I was really close to leaving to the Marines. There was a lot of opportunities that I had, but I still kind of chose that life. And it got me a lot of years in prison. It got me to see a lot of things that, I guess, make you even more depressed, make you even more out of place. Murders, drug use, just straight chaos, shootings, beatings. If you're from Chicago, you're born and raised there, you probably have PTSD. because everybody in that city has seen something. And you pack all that on to already the childhood trauma, decisions, all that, you know. And as I got older, my decision making process was not very good, because it was all based on emotions of being hurt, being distrusting, being like all this bad stuff. So it was, you know, bad decision after bad decision, and land me back in prison, drug use, being homeless, you know, like just suffering a lot for no reason. That's the way I look at it now, you know, because one thing about me was I've always been a hustler. I've always, no matter what, like I've always managed to put bacon on the table. Like I've always, and this is not to brag or anything, but like I've always been a natural leader. Like every job that I've had, I've pretty much kind of rose to the top or to a comfortable position where they leave me alone and I make a good, decent amount of money and I don't really work. I'm just keeping it real. Like I've learned to survive the smartest way, you know, and that's what I did when I worked for Walmart, what I did when I worked for Marriott, Team Fishel, Overhead and Underground Electric. I mean, I could go on and on. Like I was gonna do a bunch of videos on all the jobs that I've had, but like pretty much how I became the boss. But it was very small stuff, man. You know, getting there first. I've always been an early bird, so like I get to the jobs first all the time. I would leave last. I would treat it pretty much like it was my company. I would learn to read the blueprints. I would learn the schedules. I would learn the deliveries, the wires. I mean, I got to the point where in Phoenix, like every street light, there's a photo cell. So every city has a different colored photo cell. Gilbert, Mesa, like every city has a different codes for wire, everything. And me learning all that stuff, you know, made me like an asset to the company, and they made me a boss. I started making pretty decent amount of money. But I've always been a survivor. Why? Because like in those days, like I already knew that I had a big drug habit. I already knew that I was a womanizer, so I needed money. I needed money for a lot of things. But the crazy thing is that I was making so much money and I was always broke. Always like 1 month away from not able to pay my bills and my rent, and you know, being homeless again. That's how I lived. There was nothing stable. It was crazy. But that's what I mean, that as I went through this walk, I learned to live life. I learned to be better. Like when I went to go get my bank account and learning to like pay my bills, especially like now that it's automatic, and like I was having a hard trouble managing my debit card, because I would just write down the dates of when the bills were due, and sometimes they wouldn't take them out at that time, and I would spend money. So it was like a big like learning curve for me, for all these like negative things that they put on your account when you don't have money in there. But you know, I learned to live life, and it's crazy because now I see a lot of guys like me, like when I go to the prisons or when I go to the county jails, or I speak at like in the neighborhoods and stuff like that. I see myself, and you know, back then, I'm not gonna lie, I would have probably had pride to ask for help, because I thought I was like, you know, the crap. I thought I was like King Dada, and my pride, my survival, flight and fight mode. Everything was turned on at the highest level you could possibly think of. So, I see these guys and I'm like, man, I could really help these guys. I could teach them how to live. Just like what I'm doing at the prison right now, at the 2 prisons at Lewis and Perryville. Yesterday I was at Perryville with the women, and me and my wife have such a good time when we go there, because they're just real. They're raw, like they messed up, and the best part is, like, so we teach them this class. We're teaching them a class on how to get their certificate as a personal trainer, how to get certified. So they're learning about exercise, they're learning about food, they're learning about diet, and it's funny because, like, everything in their food and commissary is pretty bad, because it's all canned stuff, or it's not very good. But the choices are limited. So, like, I tell them, you got to try and survive as much as you can in here with as little as you can, because that's just the way of the jungle in there. And a lot of people go in there and get sick and come out and just die. Like, they get sick in there, they turn diabetic. All they do is, like, lay around, watch TV and eat. So, like, they get sick. And to teach them how to live. So one of the inmates said yesterday, I have never seen so many women run out at 5 a.m. to get their mats to go work out like I do now. She said that it's been contagious, like the way that the women are taking care of themselves and wanting to work out and stuff like that. And that's what I love. That's why we do what we do, me and my wife. Like, and that's why I do what I do when I go to the men's prison and the rehab centers. Like, we want to share what was given to us for free. And I can't sit here and lie and tell you that I was like a believer before this, and that, like, I always tell people, like, I knew there was a God because I was told. Like, my mom embedded it in me. Like, my family, I was raised Catholic, so, like, I was actually an altar boy. Like, I spent a lot of time at a church in Mexico where we lived at, Sagrado Corazon. It's in Uriangato, Guanajuato. I spent a lot of time there. I did my community there. I got baptized there. Like, I was that father was a friend of my family's, and I spent a lot of time there because he knew that I was a troublemaker. And no, he never did nothing bad to me. He was actually very serious, very reserved. He would give me my money on Sundays to go out and get an ice cream. Spent a lot of time there downstairs where all the dead people were at. But I can't sit here and say that I believed. I can't, because I didn't. I couldn't fathom it because of everything else that was going on in my life. I was already chasing girls. I was already, like, I was in a whole different world, smoking cigarettes. I was a grown man trapped in a little kid's body, still to this day. But I can't say that I believed. And then when I was on the streets and I would get in trouble, I mean, who doesn't pray when they're in the back seat with their cuffs on? Who doesn't ask everybody, the Virgin Mary, the Santa? You go into, like, panic mode, But I can't sit here and say that I believed. I can't. I would be lying. I had to sit down and really analyze this whole thing. How I became better at living my life today. And as I got older, you go on and you forget. Even when you do pray and things happen, you completely forget and you move on, and it's either luck. You make up all these things in your head that you create to give the credit to something else or whatever. And like I said, as I got older, I got in trouble, and yeah, I would pray, but once I would hit the yards and everything, I would forget and be good, and I would start all over again. And I didn't realize that for so many years, all the guilt, all the shame, all the regret, like everything was like just piling up, and like just, man. So I get home and, I'm still, like I tell people, yeah, I prayed, I asked when I was in trouble, when I was scared, but I can't sit here and say that I was a believer. I became a full believer that day that I got on my knees. That day that I got on my knees, I experienced something that I'll never be able to explain, and I don't want to. I really don't. All I know is that on that day, I got a heart transplant that usually runs about $1.5 million. I got it for free that day, and it changed my life. And from that point on, I took it serious because I had never experienced nothing like that in my life. So I sat down, I read, I studied, I prayed, I fellowshipped, I was of service. I did everything that needed to be done. I got baptized, I got married. I learned to live life. I learned to be okay. I learned to have peace. But all that comes through Jesus Christ, through my heart. There's been so much going on, and it's been fun to see everything that's happening, because I know God has me right where He wants me right now. And for years I felt uneducated. I felt like, I used to always say, I'm just a muscle, and I made myself believe that, and no, God uses anything and everything. Look at me. But the biggest thing that I am so grateful for is that He taught me how to love myself, how to love my wife, how to start to love my kids, and how to love Him. He taught me that, not every day is going to be perfect, but every day is a gift. He taught me to water my relationships that He's put in my life, to call my friends, to see their strengths, and to help them with their weaknesses. I guess now I understand, like, what all those motivational speakers used to say about how if you have overcome a tragedy or something traumatic or just something, and you're able to overcome it and like truly live past it, you're able to teach it to others. And that's all I'm trying to do. I told people the other day, I'm not book smart. I'm not the one that could like memorize verses and shout out verses here and there and stuff like I can't do none of that stuff. It's just, I don't know. Since I've been a kid, it's been difficult for me. Learning how to read and write, it has been a challenge. But I tell you what, this is what I do. I walk and talk and do exactly what that verse tells me to do. And I repent, and I get on my knees, and I pray, and I love, and I cry, and I do exactly what that verse says. And that's all I could do. And I think God knows that. He knows what's in my heart. So I just roll with it, man. But if you truly want to learn how to live, hey, I just gave you some gems right there. Hey, my name is JC. I hope you have a great day. I love you guys. Stay in your lane. Live savage. And remember, live for him. Love you guys.